Hello, everybody. Welcome to Technocraft and welcome to the Ethical Hacking series. This is such an exciting series. We are going to have a ton of fun and we are going to go through and see a bunch of courses within this series as well as the course outside of this series that talk about ethical hacking. For this series, we are going to focus on preparing you for the certified ethical hacking exam. But also, if you don't want to take the exam, just be aware of what's out there and what can be done. Now, because technology is everywhere and it's growing so rapidly, there are some truths we need to learn to live within this technology world, and understanding those truths will actually help you to fight off some of the cyber attacks and cyber issues that might come at you or your organization. Now, what do I mean by learning the truth? Well, first of all, let's take a look at some of the facts. They're predicting that the global cybersecurity market is expected to go from 64 billion from 2011 to 165 billion by 2023. Well, why so much? Why there is so much increase? Well, the issue here is that the cybercrime is increasing. It's a growing industry. The returns are extremely beneficial to the attacker and the risks are extremely low. It is estimated that an annual global cost for cybersecurity is $600 billion, and that's being conservative. Now, let's put this in a different perspective. If you were to take the revenue from the top technology companies, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, eBay, Yahoo, Apple, and Netflix, and combine them together, you wouldn't even get close to the amount of revenue that cybercrime is creating. Let's look at it in a different way. Cybercrime victims per year are over 600 million victims, and if you break that down, that's about 1.6 or 1.6 million victims per day, or about 20 per second. Now, the cost of cybercrime not only include the effect that it has on business, but also the hundred of million of people globally. In 2016, over 657 million identities were exposed, the majority of which were actually stolen. In fact, of that, 40 million were from the United States, 54 million from Turkey, 20 million from Korea. So you can see this isn't a country issue, it's a global issue, and the cost of cybercrime is going to continue to increase as business continue to move their functions and infrastructure to an online presence, as well as more companies and customers around the world that are getting connected. And again, this isn't just limited to a single or just a couple of industries. Some of the most heavily hit industries for data breach are healthcare, business, banking, government, and education. And most people would look at this and say that banking is the biggest one. No, it's actually business. What really is the issue here is that identity information or customer data is being targeted. One of the biggest data breaches that took place in 2007 was the Equifax breach. That's just a major credit bureau reporting company here in the United States. You're not scared at. Think about it. The information I could gather if I was attack a healthcare industry, tons of identity information, social security numbers, income information, medical histories, even prescription information. It is an interesting thought. Video effects and artificial intelligence are now being combined to create videos that even the experts can't determine to be fake or real. Think about that for a minute. Oh, Your Honor, we have a video footage here from Mr. XYZ walking into the New York Stock Exchange before a cyber attack, blah 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 blah. I wasn't there. Well, video evidence says otherwise, and experts says that it is a real video. Think about that. Being in business includes not only dealing with this type of information and your customers' information, But intellectual property, and that's a big issue. We have actually got state sponsored organizations that are stealing intellectual property from other companies. And guess what? They're going to continue to do this so long as countries are slow to improve their security footprint. One of the biggest issues is government have got to get more serious about how to control this environment. Now, I'm not saying government control, I mean prosecution. You know, if you come home and found out that somebody broke into your house or your car, who are you going to call? You got a song in your head right now. Who you gonna call? The police, right? They're going to come out and they're going to help you. Well, what if someone steals your credit card information? Okay, granted, you might be able to contact your credit card company and say, hey, there's a weird charge on my card and they refund it. But who goes after the criminal in that case? How do you go after somebody in a completely different country? So I got to ask you a question. How protected do you feel? Let's take a look at what's going out here. This is a live cyber threat map showing us live attacks going on. Did you know that in 1984 there was only 1,000 devices on the internet as a whole? In 1992 there was 1 million devices. In 2018 there were a billion devices. 2004 they estimate that there are 1.4 trillion devices on the internet, and by 2015 it is supposed to increase by 30%. That would bring us to 4.9 trillion devices on the internet. In 2011, did you know that 20 homes generated more traffic than the entire internet of 2008? And if you think that's amazing, 90% of the world's data has been created in just past 2 years. Now, here is the scary part. More than 6 lakh Facebook accounts are compromised every single day, and 1 in 10 social networking users actually admit to falling victim to some type of phishing scam or fake link that's posted on the social network platform. 59% of the ex-employees, this is kind of a scary one too. 59% of ex-employees who leaves the company admit to stealing company data when they leave their job. So I ask you again, how protected do you feel? That's what we are here to show you. We are going to go through and talk about the different attacks that are hitting companies worldwide. Whenever I teach ethical hacking, it's funny. I have my students come on to the first day and they are like, yes, hacking, here we go, and that's great. I want you to be excited about it. By day two, they go, huh, that's kind of interesting. Day three, they go, wait a second. Day four, they're going to hang on. And on day five, they're typically, holy cow, I got to back and rethink things. In fact, I'm going to go back and rethink my home network. Folks, it's time to wake up. I don't care if you are here for the certified ethical hacking certification to take the exam or not. The knowledge is not only beneficial, it is imperative that you learn this so much with me. Let's see the overview of the CH certification program. Here's one of my favorite kit. It's from a film A League of Their Own, and it's Tom Hanks delivers one of the best lines I have ever heard. Gina Davis get really tired or really difficult. There's a relationship, things going on with her sister. Her husband is coming back from the war and she's leaving the team. And Tom Hanks and her having the big argument, and in the middle of the argument he says, why are you quitting? And she says, I'm quitting because it's too hard. And here comes the line. He says, if it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. Hard is what make it great. I'll read it again. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. Hard is what make it great. Now I'm going to pull any punches here, folks. The CH exam is not that easy and it's not designed to be easy. But once you take the exam, you're going to keep up on that certification. We're going to talk this whole CH certification program. We'll go through and talk about the certification, what the certification brings you. Well, we'll also take a look at how to maintain your certification. This is not one short pony here. You are going to have that's a wrong acronym. What you get in that idea? You're going to have to maintain this certification. You don't just take the exam once and go, oh, I'm done, I'm certified. No, you have to continue maintaining the certificate. And then we will go through and take a look at what's expected of you. Let's see what the certification brings you. So first, what is the certification brings you? A lot of times we take an exam, we got a certification and we get that certificate and we put it on the wall for about the first year and then it ends up on dead board to become a doorstep. Well, when it comes to certification with the CH, you need to understand that the certification actually brings to you an international recognized certification. This is one that's known through the entire IT industry. It is in fact an industry standard so much so that CH certification actually meets the Department of Defense Directive 8570.1, which basically is a directive that it came out and said anybody that deal in the IT side of things, when it comes to government, it has to have some type of certification. CH being one of those, as far as benefiting your resume is concerned, CH will actually help make you stand out as someone who understand how a hacker think. The most recent survey in 2015 shows that a certified ethical hacker, their salary ranges anywhere from $25,000 to 110,000 per year. And obviously, with everything that's being going on it in this world, as far as hacking and technology is concerned, the certification is high demand just because the aspect that it gain a teaching you to be more proactive than reactive to what's happening. So, should I watch this series? So you may ask yourself, well, should I be watching this series? Of course, well, it depends. The folks that are going to get the most out of this particular course are going to be those that are security officers within the company, possibly auditors, and this could be both internal auditors and external auditors, security professionals, and this would include consultants, site administrator, as well as just standard administrators, and also anybody or anyone that might be worried about how secure their environment is. I would actually make an argument for home users to be interested in this course. So, how do you maintain your certification? Let's say you go off and get your certification. There are actually some things that you have to do to maintain it. First of all, it's all about the points. Easy Council came up with what they refer to as Easy Council Consulting Education Credits. Now, these credits are basically points that are given to be based off the activities to show that you keeping up with the industry. Some of these activities can include attending different conferences. In fact, Easy Council puts on two different conferences where they sponsor them. One of them being Takedown, and the other one being the Hacker Halted conference. You can also get credits for attending Black Hat or any other security related conferences. If you write and type of research purpose consulting security, maybe some of your experience or maybe you have come up with a new way of looking at a particular vulnerability, can count as an ECE credit. Training. If you do any type of training, whether it's internal or actually or external. Actually, I do several community training sessions and I'm able to gain points for doing those particular free sessions. Also, reading related subject materials. Now, just don't make things up. As matter of fact, that applies to everything here. Don't say, well, yeah, I wrote a research paper, because when you go to fill out the form to apply of these credits, they will ask for evidence. And in some cases, you have to fax over the materials that you read or give them links to those research papers that you created. Sometimes, as to provide the certificate for the training, maybe that you attended. If you attended training on a receipt showing that you went to one of those conferences, exams, as I mentioned before, CH is not the end of your cost. We can go on to other certifications, but if you need to renew your certification in CH, which if you keep up on your points, you shoulder have to, if by chance you miss out on getting enough points, you will have to take the exam again to make sure that you are up to date. But if you continue on with a forensics experts or a LPT, those exams will also count towards your CH credits. Webinars. Attending webinars, again, you are going to have to provide some type of evidence that you attended these webinars. But if they are security related, keep tracks of those things and you will need to submit those to ECE. So how do you submit them? Well, first of all, you have to, these points are accumulative every year in an yearly fashion or yearly time frame, and it starts from January 1st to on December 31st. And during that time frame, you should be tracking all of your activity that would meet these guidelines. And then you will have until February 1st of the next year to record all your ECE credits. And I would recommend not waiting until January 25th to get going. You want to get these out as soon as possible, maybe even as you attended, and you will have access to do this. I'll show you here in just a second where you go to apply of these points, but Easy Council have to verify. They don't just take it guaranteed. Granted, they they ask always for the proof. This is one of the few companies I have seen that actually go through and does a lot of verification. So make sure that you get those recorded by February 1st. As far as how do you record your easy credits? Well, it's very easy. Once you get your certification, you will receive an invitation to the Aspen website, which is basically a website. It's used to be called Delta for certified ethical hacker on anybody that has an easy council certification. And from there's a link that you will go through and click on and submit your easy credits. Now, if you have any question about some of your credits, you can always contact Easy Consult. They are very friendly about answering. Does this particular situation apply, or would it be one that would get me some credits? That they will be more than happy to help you with that. So what's expected of you? As a certified ethical hacker, there are several things that you have to adhere to. One of those being the code of ethics, which you can go through and take a look at in the detailed following URL. So the domains of the code of ethics from Easy Council include the following. First, when it comes to privacy, obviously as a security professional, you are going to come across information, and that information you're not supposed to collect, give, sell, trade, transfer, do anything with that information. Social security numbers, customer databases, etc. When it comes to intellectual property, again, you are going to be exposed to a lot of information, and again, you as an ethical hacker are going to help protect that information for your customers or for your company disclosure. You may uncover something that in some cases may actually be uncomfortable to talk about. I had a particular situation where the gentleman who hired us to come out to do a pen test, we come across some information. We just say it was for adult orientation, adult materials, and it was one of the no-nos of that company. And we had to expose that information. So you have to be willing to disclose everything that you discover to the appropriate person. and in some cases, authorities. When I had my ISP service, I had a customer that we weren't necessarily monitoring what people were doing. We had a proxy server, and in reviewing the proxy server, we saw some material that was considered illegal in the United States go across, and we turned that person in. Areas of expertise. You should never misrepresent yourself pretending that you know more than what you really know. You need to be honest and and upfront about any limitation that you actually might have in either your experience and or your education. There's nothing wrong with letting people know by saying, hey, this may be outside of my realm. Hopefully, you have a network that can bring in somebody that may have an expertise in that particular domain. Unauthorized illegal activities. As you go through and you represent yourself as an ethical hacker, there may be situation that you have to make sure that you stay clear of, such a double billing or seeing that a particular project may or may not take a certain length of time and you do things that extend out your time so you can bill them for more financial gain. You would also include bribery. There are many situations where you might come across something and you're talking about to an individual or a person within that company. There may be some type of bribery that may take place, and again, your job is to make sure you maintain the code of ethics. Authorization. As either a contractor or possibly an employee of company, you need to make sure that you use their property in a way that is authorized and that it is to their knowledge and consent. We don't ever do things sneakily behind the door. Disclosure. Now, I know I mentioned disclosure previously. It's our third bullet down, but this is a different type of disclosure. There are many times that as you are doing pen test or you are doing simulations, you might come across issue that you need to verify or excuse me, you need to notify a hardware manufacturer that you have discovered something. There was a great article that I was reading by a pen tester who was going through and he discovered a flaw. And it was a flaw on a hardware device that gave immediate and instant root access. And he went through and before he would talk about it on his blog, he notified the manufacturer. And his frustration come from the manufacturer not necessarily taking the steps as quickly as he thought they should. It actually took over 100 and some odd days for them to actually respond and finally for them to come public with the information. In the meantime, the ethical hacker was concerned that there was 25,000 plus users of this particular hardware device that was currently being exposed. So if you come across some type of flaw, you do need to notify the manufacturer so that you can help fix other customers. If by chance they don't respond, I would probably, and this is actually what the author did, is he went through the and started posting his frustration on Twitter and made sure he tagged this particular manufacturer so they could see that he was getting ready to announce it. And it wasn't until he got very close to finally coming out and telling everybody what the flaw was that they actually responded and came out with a fix. It was actually for a NAS device, a business level NAS device, which was kind of interesting. Management. Anytime that you get involved in a project, you need to make sure that you have good management procedures in place so that you can make sure that, again, this kind of goes back to the issue of billing. You need to make sure you manage your projects appropriately. Make sure you have a goal and a time frame. And if you're going to have to adjust that time frame, you're going to manage it by letting people know. Confidence. So, knowledge sharing. As an ethical hacker, you need to add to the knowledge of e-commerce professionals by consulting, studying, and sharing the things that you learn and experience you came across with fellow Easy Council members and help to promote public awareness. We need to share the information and try to promote public awareness, confidence. As an ethical hacker, you should always present yourself in professional and ethical and competent manner. This means even when you possibly competing with someone else for a particular project, in layman's terms, no backstabbing. Extreme care. Now, as we go through all the different causes on this series, we are going to be introducing some tools that can be extremely dangerous. So, as an ethical hacker, you need to make sure that you protect yourself and the software and the things that you deploy against a network, that you will have experience with those products and you're not going to just execute some program in somebody's network. You are going to do this extreme careful with extreme careful, and when you come across a situation, we don't necessarily fix the situation that may or may not be in our scope of our project. And even though we may think we know what's best for the companies or for our company, we are still going to get guidance and clearance for any type of action. Malicious activities. Again, you're not going to associate with any type of malicious hackers or engage in any type of activities that would be considered malicious. Now, compromise. What we mean by these is that you are in no way going to purposely compromise or cause a company or organization system to become compromised through the process of your professional dealing with them. Legal limits. You are going to make sure that as you do this penetration, that everything that you are doing has been approved, authorized, and it was within the legal limits of the scope of your project. I know there are some really fun movies out there where people are doing these tests and coming across information and doing things that may or may not be legal. That's not your purpose. Your purpose is to make sure you stay within these guidelines, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on when we talk about pen test, that we are going to have a scope that we set up, that we understand exactly what wrong we are doing, what is our limitations. We got to actually know where the goals post are, where the sidelines are, what's considered out of bounds, what considered fair play. As an ethical hacker, you're making a promise. You're going to adhere to the code of ethics, that you will not take any part in a black hat activities or be associated with any black hat communities that out there trying to enter, trying to attack people's networks and infrastructure. Now, that doesn't mean that, and we'll talk about this with the vulnerability research. That doesn't mean that you are not monitoring them, but you're not going to help promote them. You're not going to help solve their problems, especially when it comes to dealing with online forums, which get us to the last one, which is underground communities. So again, you're not going to be part of any underground hacking communities for the purpose of being an evangelist or expanding the black hat knowledge to their activities. Review the CCA. Okay, there is one more item that is expected of you. You should review. Uh, we refer to it as the CCA, or the Candidate Certificate Agreement. This is available via the EC Council website in the URL listed here. In it, they go through and list the purpose of the certification, the definition, the certificate itself. If you can transfer the certificate, like if you're leaving the company, the answer is no, you can't. The certification stay with the person. Your obligations, they actually have a link there to certification exam as well as the exam retake, but we will cover some of this in the later module. So in this module, we went through and take a look at what certification brings to you. It brings again a global recognized certification. In fact, I was just reading an article the other day about how the FBI is looking for ethical hackers. We also spoke how to maintain your certificate. Remember, it's all about the points. Again, you are going to want to make sure that any changes, EC Council is pretty good about notifying members if they make any type of changes. If you have a question about if something or some activity could be considered for point or ECE points, you need to contact them and just ask them outright. Then we also talked about what was expected of you. There's a lot of expected of you. Again, back to my favorite quote from Uncle Ben, Spider-Man. When did he say before he died? With great power comes great responsibilities. With great power comes great responsibilities. Don't take this lightly, folks. This is a material that you're going to learn about can be and are dangerous in the wrong hands. And that's not the purpose of us teaching these concepts. Before we dive further, we're going to go through in the next module and show you how to build up the lab that you that will help you to hack machines.